Have you ever felt like you were asking for too much in a relationship when in reality you were just asking for the basics? If this sounds like you or something you've been through, then stay tuned because today we're going to get to the bottom of this pattern specifically in our series, Identifying the Pattern. So, if you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist or somebody of that caliber, then you've probably experienced this very pattern. And this is one of the more insidious patterns that does exist within this category of patterns. And the reason for that is because it exploits your hope. It keeps you hanging on the line and really targets your hopeful thinking, your hopeful heart, your optimism, right? And if I was going to summarize this pattern into one word, it would really be unpredictability. And the reason for that is because with breadcrumbing, the point of it is to not be there, to be inconsistent in showing up for you or in intimacy or in love or anything, you can take this breadcrumbing across the whole board. It can be within your intimate relationship, together as a partner. It can be just conversation. It can be attention. It can be touch. It can be anything. And that is why this one is one of the more insidious ones because it eventually leads to the victim on the other side, the person who is experiencing this, to essentially experience anorexia in all of these departments and pretty much every department where you would expect a person to show up for you, especially when it is romantic or it is parental. Okay, because these are the key figures in your life that should be showing up in specific roles, right? So it can be the biggest letdown, and it can also be the biggest wake up call when you do realize that this is going on. And the reason why it is so important for you to recognize this one pattern is because this inconsistency in showing up for you, it's actually this mechanism of being inconsistent, intermittent love and intermittent attention, and all of this is intermittent action and reaction and um, um, behaviors. This intermittent reinforcement that they're doing is actually more addictive than any consistent behavior, especially when you have dealt with this behavior in your own family. And if you have received this kind of behavior, what it feels like is hot and cold. So you'll receive these hot and cold signals, attention, validation, love, or what we would have thought would be love as children. We're just carrying on into our adult life. But the inconsistency of it all can be very familiar, and our nervous system can be wired to that inconsistency. And so it can feel when you are getting that attention from your partner, when you are getting what you think you're needing, what you believe that, I wouldn't say you're not getting what you actually need because this is one pattern that keeps you chronically unmet in all areas across the board in your life. Okay. So that's the intention is to keep you chronically unmet. But the problem is that this inconsistency and your nervous system being wired to it over time, what it does is that when you do receive the breadcrumbs, when you do receive just a little bit of their time, just a little bit of their attention, just a little bit of their love, just a little touch, or maybe a slight, we're not even going to talk about intimacy, but the other things that adults do that I can't talk about on this channel right now. Um, when you're talking about these things, it can feel very euphoric. It can actually release dopamine and serotonin and even oxytocin into the brain because as a child, that's what you received as love quite often. Now, of course, this doesn't apply to everybody, but generally, if you've been in a long-term relationship with one of these people, or you've been in multiple relationships with these people, it is because you have experienced this very thing and your nervous system was wired and programmed to feel this, right? So this kind of love, it can be intoxicating and you feel as though you're going to actually get more of it. But that's the point of this pattern itself, is that once you get a little bit, it's just enough to keep you on the line. It's just enough to keep you from waking up. It's just enough to keep you from leaving. And it can come in the form of also receiving gifts, although you don't typically get those um, unless it's kind of the beginning of the relationship or the first few years, or they're doing things behind the scenes that are really bad, and they feel, like you might be onto them. I'm not going to say they feel guilty because really they don't feel guilty or remorseful unless they've been caught um, red-handed, right? And then keep it at that. They tend to deny that existence or reality, right? Completely. So I diverge from the path. This pattern in itself is going to just give you enough of that release, that chemical release, to keep you in bondage, essentially. And it's such a terrible pattern because in the end, it creates trauma bonding. It creates the environments that are conducive to um, long lasting nervous system regulation issues, long lasting relationship dynamic issues, being unable to trust in your own self, being unable to trust your own feelings, your own sensations, and also therefore not being able to trust anything or anybody else. It leaves you in a state of feeling very small, very worthless because you're only receiving just tad bits, enough to keep you on the line, but not enough to say, you're worthy, you're worth my time. And that's ultimately the message that does get conveyed through this, is that you are not worth committing to. You are not worth my time. You are not worth investing into. And that's absolutely not the truth. And now this can come from parents. This can come from your boss. It can come from a best friend. It can come from any place, even within a relationship romantically. But the important thing to know is that that is not true. Their issue is not your fault because they are unable to actually fully show up, usually due to avoidant patterns within themselves, fear of intimacy, inadequacies, and the inability to actually um, get close to somebody. They do these things in order to create distance, to keep you on the leash, but to keep you at an arm's length, essentially, right? Because they're fearful of intimacy. They're fearful of getting close to you. And these types of people typically want to just control without commitment. And so understand that none of this, whether it was learned behavior from familial situations or from a long-term exposure to a narcissist in a marriage or something to that degree. None of it is your fault. But now that you are armed with this knowledge, you can actually make changes. The issue is that when you start to pull away, this is going to feel like self-abandonment. And that's the hardest thing. And that's why they implore this technique, is because if you're dealing, especially with codependency, a lot of the ideas of attachment are confused. And so we're looking for love in all the wrong places, essentially, if you're dealing with codependency. And this one very thing that they do, this one technique that they use, is that one that really keeps most people stuck in these relationships long term, because every time that you try to leave, they're going to use this breadcrumbing tactic, right? Or they're going to try and hoover you back in if you've already left. And that kind of implores these same techniques with hoovering. If you haven't seen that video, I will leave a link at the end of this one. But yes, nevertheless, it's going to hurt. It's going to feel like maybe if I just wait a little longer. Maybe if I'm just more patient, maybe if I'm just quieter or calmer or more loving or more giving, they're going to get it. They're going to understand. They're going to see me. They're going to finally love me. They're going to reciprocate. It's not true. If they wanted to show up for you in this relationship, they would have. If they had planned on ever being consistent with you or with anybody, they already would have. Do you see where I'm going with this? This is the trap, is that they want you to become entrained, right? And enmeshed. And by keeping you on the line and then treating you in a specific way, this hot and cold, like, yeah, you're good enough for a little, but you're not good enough for the rest, so get away from me. This triggers your abandonment wounds and your childhood insecurities. And that's what they're exploiting to keep you on that line. And when you start to recognize that and you start to say, you know what, I actually deserve somebody who's going to show up for me day in and day out. I deserve somebody who knows how to actually love me. I deserve actual intimacy, actual conversation. I deserve somebody who's reliable. I deserve somebody who is compassionate and empathetic and shows up in their actions, and that their actions align with their words, especially because this breadcrumbing technique is used to confuse so that you don't question whether their actions over time are aligning with the words, the lies, the dream that they're trying to share with you, the vision they're trying to create, the illusion that they're trying to spin. So know your worth. I see your worth. I see your worth. You're worth a heck of a lot more than any illusion or delusion, as I like to put it, that these people are spinning. And you deserve to reclaim all of these parts of yourself so that you no longer have to feel as though that's all you deserve, because you deserve more. You do. And maybe you've never had more, so you don't know what that looks like yet. But through the process of self-love, you start to realize what that looks like. You start to figure that out for yourself so you can attract that. Anyhow, I'm holding space for you, a lot of space. I love you very much. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps my algorithm so that I can spread these videos and maximize my reach so they can reach other women or people who are in similar situations who are really in need of this content. Let me know what you did think of this video. Have you experienced that? Leave it in the comments below. Have you experienced this pattern before? What particular part of this video did stand out to you? Or did you just get something from it? Was it beneficial for you? Leave me a comment. Let me know. Let the community know as well, because we are a community. So otherwise, all my returning subscribers, much love to you. And if you are new here, please subscribe, join our beautiful community of like-minded women. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. If you like this one, check out these ones, okay?